Hey, it's Joe Crump. This next video is called Using Systems to Scale Your Real Estate Investing Business the Right Way. If you want to build a huge business, you absolutely can. Now, with the things that I'm teaching, you're probably not going to become a billionaire, but you can absolutely become a multimillionaire. And you can build a beautiful business, and you can build it in one city, or you can build it in many cities across the country, or even perhaps around the world. Because you have to understand how to use systems to be able to do that, because you have to be able to scale up using systems. The way that I've done it is by using a piece of software that I designed and created called PushButtonAutomarketer.com. Now, that system is a marketing system, it's a lead management system, it's a team management system, because it allows you to manage an entire team and allows you to automate 90% of your work. And then the other 10%, 9% of that 10%, you can outsource to other people, and 1% of it you'll have to do yourself. You'll have to pay attention at some point. But the 9% is maybe the one of the things that you're going to need to be able to scale this up in a really grand way, if you don't want to be working all the time. And what you're going to need, you're going to want to bring in an admin person, you're going to want to bring in a buyer finder, you want to bring in a seller finder, you want to bring in boots on the ground. And these people, these 4 different groups of people, they can help you run your business and create checks and balances within your business, so that you have an admin person over here who makes sure the software is working to generate the leads. And then those leads have to go to the seller finder who's making the calls to those people and trying to put deals together on those leads, and then reporting back to the admin person that they made those calls. And if the admin person has to record what this person did, that means that there's going to be some oversight on what they're doing, so that I'll know whether or not that's being accomplished. If for some reason the person who's making the calls to sellers is not doing their job, is not making their calls and sending back that information to the admin person, then the admin person is going to call them and say, hey, I didn't get the information, did you make those calls? And if they didn't make those calls, they'll typically make those calls. And if they still don't make those calls, then the admin person calls me and says, hey, I didn't get those calls, he hasn't been making his calls, I can't put this information in there. And so I can, when I look at the reports, I'll realize, hey, it's not getting done. And so I have to bring in a different seller finder. And that way, when you set up a business like this that has these checks and balances in it, you'll always know that the work is getting done. So you have to set up each of the tasks that people are doing for you so that they're dependent upon the other person. Everybody has to be dependent on something else. Every task has to be dependent on something else happening before they can do their task. And if you do it that way, it sounds needlessly complex, but it's not. It's not that difficult. And it actually makes it work faster and easier, and more likely, it makes it more likely for it all to happen, because they're monitoring each other. And they're usually, when they're working together like that, they're usually very polite to each other and very friendly with each other. They're team members, and they want to work together, and they rely on each other to make it happen, and they've got an obligation to each other to make it happen. I just sit back, and they CC me on emails back and forth to each other, so I see what's going on, but I don't ever get involved unless I see things are falling apart. And once you start working with people over time, less things will fall apart. More and more, they'll get used to their jobs, they'll understand their jobs, they'll get better at it than you are at those jobs, and they'll be able to perform it. So whenever I need anything, I can slip off an email and say, hey, can you take care of this for me? Can you take care of that for me? Or can you tell me what's going on with this situation? If I'm looking at a report that's sent to me by my bookkeeper, and I say, well, what's going on with this situation? She can usually tell me, well, we didn't get rent in April, May, and June from this particular tenant. That's why we have less money coming in. We also had $3,200 on this particular property in this LLC, that we had to put in a new HVAC system. So she can tell me what's going on by looking at the QuickBooks and tell me what's happening with those reports that she's getting from the property manager. So all those things have to happen, and she knows that she has to get all those details from the property manager. She has to get all the invoices. So all that stuff is there, and on a Google Drive, whenever I want, I can go and look at it. And then I have them set up reports. They just do printouts of reports. And of course, we have the spreadsheet, which I've talked about before, on each of the properties to show me where the cash flow is on those properties, because QuickBooks isn't very good about showing cash flow. It's hard to get the numbers that you need as a real estate investor from QuickBooks. Somebody needs to design something that's better than that. But we've designed a spreadsheet that does all that for me. It's manually inputted, but it tells me all the information that I need, and we have that updated once a quarter so that I can always go in and look at where we're at on the entire portfolio at that time. And I can do the same thing with the rest of my business, with individual properties, with my coaching business, with my auto marketer business. I have ways for that to happen. So having all these things in place, which I guess now we can get back to, that's what makes it scalable. That's what makes it possible to grow. And if I needed more people, if I get to a point where each of those people have too much work to do, then I can just bring in another person and split off their job into different pieces. And it's also kind of nice to have people working part-time. I've got full-time employees because their job grows into that and they want that to be full-time, but most of them started part-time. And as I saw that they were going to do a good job, I started giving more and more responsibility until they got to be full-time. But I don't usually hire a full-time person unless I lose a full-time person. And then when I lose a full-time person, usually I'll split that job up into two different people. And start them on a part-time basis, and one of those probably will be better than the other. Maybe both of them will be good, but it makes it possible so that when I lose one of those people, when I lose an employee, it doesn't completely trash my business. I don't have to worry about somebody coming in and training somebody from scratch and starting all over. And that was a big problem for me at the beginning of my business career. But over time, we started learning how to make this work and splitting up the business and the jobs in a way that if we lose somebody, yeah, it might be painful, it might be difficult, but usually it's not, because they give me notice, or they'll give me time before they leave, and they're available afterwards because we got a good relationship. I've taken care of them. I've, looked out for them. I've given them Christmas bonuses. I've, doing the things that you would want in your life if you were working for somebody. They also have the ability to work at home. Nobody works in my office with me. Everybody works remotely. I've got people all over the world. I've got a guy in Islamabad who works with me, and we talk over Skype about different things we're doing. He helps code stuff for me. I've got a guy in California. I've got a woman in Lebanon. I've got a woman in Jamaica. I've got people in several places here in the United States. I've got several people here in Indiana and Illinois. I've got people all over the place that work for me remotely, that never go to an office, that I never have to pay office space for, and I'm able to build my business and grow into as many places as I want. Lately, I've been consolidating some of my properties, so I've been selling off properties in some of the outlying states that I've got, and I've been reducing that down to just a few different states now. But if I wanted to expand out again, I could easily do that. But I'm getting to the point in my portfolio and my business that I kind of want to consolidate a little bit and optimize some of the stuff that I'm doing. But it's not keeping me from buying new stuff as well, and we're continuing to do that, and I will continue to do that probably for as long as I live, because I enjoy it and it's fun, and I also want to be able to leave this legacy and this to my family and to the people that I love. So setting up systems is absolutely vital to this whole process. One of the ways that you can set up systems is using Push Button Auto Marketer. And in the push button auto marketer, there's a follow-up campaign creator. So you can create templates for tasks. It's a task template. And what it can do is, let's say you've got certain things in your business that you do over and over again. And let's say you've got multiple people working for you. Let's say you're doing the for rent method. This one example of a task template. You're doing the for rent method. You've got an admin person. You've got a buyer finder. You've got a seller finder. You got boots on the ground, and all those people have tasks that they have to do every time a new lease option memo is signed. So you've got your seller finder who finds a new deal. They then give that to the admin person. The admin person puts in the task template onto that lead in the auto marketer. So you got the name of the lead of the property. You have a follow-up task that you put onto that particular lead, and that task will suddenly send out, as soon as she places it there, it's going to send out an email or a text or a voice blast to your team. It's going to send out to the boots on the ground. You need to put a sign in the yard, lockbox has to go in the door, pictures have to be taken, it has to go to the buyer finder. Here's the new property, here's the address of the property, it merges in that information, automatically. All the admin person is attaching this click, doing one click and attaching that campaign to that lead, and it's doing all this work for you. It's going to send that information out. We know that 5 days later, X has to happen. 5 days after that, X has to happen. We need to follow up with the seller on this day and this day and this day to make sure that they know that we're still on board and making this stuff happen. So we put that in so it reminds the right person who's supposed to do that job to do that job. And it can send out a text or an email or voice blast both to the person who has to do the job and maybe to the admin person who monitors that person is doing that job. So they know, okay, this person has to make a follow-up call to the seller. The seller finder has to make a follow-up call to the seller finder on day 14 because we want to remind them that we're still working on this. We haven't forgotten them. We're still doing our jobs. Here's all the stuff we're doing. Once they make that call, they can send a note over to the admin person. Admin person logs it, and then I can go in. I can see, oh yeah, we're doing everything that's supposed to be done on this because that's in our notes section, which we also have a notes section in the auto marketer that keeps track in sequence of all the things that are done and can be searched by task, can be searched by date, it can be searched by phone number, it can be searched by all those things, so you can keep track of who was called, when they were called, what was said. All that information is right there at your fingertips for that particular lead that anybody on your team can come in and access. Now, your auto marketer is also set up so that you can set permissions so that not everybody on your team has permission to have access to everything in your system. If I have a seller finder and he's only working with sellers, I don't necessarily want him to have access to all my buyers. I don't want somebody to take my business from me. Now, I've been working with people for a long, long time, so I don't have a lot of fear about that. But when you're first getting started with somebody, you give them limited access to what you're doing. And the system is set up so you can give checkboxes to which modules in the system they have access to. You don't want to necessarily give them access to your credit card information. You want to necessarily give them access to being able to buy new phone numbers for the system or create new campaigns for the system. You may only want to give that to the admin person. And then have them distribute the leads. If you've got multiple people who are making phone calls for you, you can have the admin person distribute leads as they come in and assign each lead to specific people and put a tag on those leads saying these are Fred's leads, these are Sam's leads, these are Carolyn's leads. These are the ones that that you have to deal with. And then once that happens, you can also give them access to the power dialer system, especially the phone people. If they're making calls and you give them a set of leads to call, you can create power dialer campaigns and they can go in, here's that 50 leads that you need to call. Go through and make those calls. And then that makes it easy for us to keep track of how many calls this person made, and you can keep track of what they said to those people and what the outcome was for those particular leads. it makes a huge difference, and it makes it possible for you to scale this up and have multiple people who are making calls to sellers, multiple people who are calling your buyers, and you want to have different people that are doing that. You don't necessarily want to have your buyer finder and your seller finder doing the same, being the same person. Same with your admin. It needs to be a certain person, another person, so you can have those checks and balances. So that's a little bit about how we scale our business and how we systematize it so that it makes it possible to scale it and work in as many different states as you'd like. All right, and by the way, the Auto Marketer is set up so that you can have as many team members as you want. You don't have to pay extra for team members. Most CRMs charge you per team member, and we don't do that. You can have as many. You can have 50 people working for you, and it wouldn't matter. You can put them all in there, and you can manage them all from that place for one price. You can also scale up your marketing using have as many phone numbers as you want, and you can have as many people calling from your system as you want. It'll keep track of each one of them individually, keep track of their leads individually, and same with buyers that are coming in. As people come into your buyer leads, you can have those leads tagged with certain people so that they can have access to those leads, and other people won't have access to those leads. So it makes it really possible for you to build an entire organization around this automated system if you'll just build it properly. All right, I hope that helps. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and it'll make it so that YouTube will actually send you an email every time I post a new video. You can also get free information from me on joecrumpblog.com. If you sign up for my newsletter there, I give out free information that nobody else gets. Go to pushbuttonautomarketer.com. That's the automation system. And then, of course, my mentor program, zerodowninvesting.com. It's my 6-month mentor program where I work with you personally to help you develop your business, your systems, your outsourcing, learning how to put deals together, how to structure zero-down deals, how to do it without using money or credit, and how to do it with the sort of no-risk safety net method that I teach. All right, I hope that helps. Good luck.